Hi good people, Titus here for part 10 of the Qbert mini-series, and in this video we'll finish up the code for Coily the snake so he can interact and destroy Qbert on contact. Let's not waste any time and jump right into it. Alright, so last we left off we were modifying the code for Coily. So let's go into here and make some adjustments. The first thing we'll need to do is he has no way to overlap, so if we hit play and then we jump down, we're going to bounce right off him like that. So to fix that, we just select the actual capsule component, and then you can do a search for collision. And then right now it's currently set to pawn, but we can do overlap only pawn, compile and save. And now we should be able to actually be killed by him. And then we'll respawn at the top. Now the second issue you notice is Coily still jumping while he's like falling. So to fix that, we can do the same thing we did with Qbert, and that's on his attack jump. We can come into a branch condition, and because we're using the character, we got the character movement component that comes with the is falling check, and we can just bring that into a not boolean. Plug that in like so. And now, if I can get him to jump off the edge again. Oh, he's gonna kill me. That's the other issue we'll need to address here. Let's see if we can get him to fall off here. Oh, there he goes, he's going. He's gotta go. There he goes. Now you can see he doesn't jump while he's falling. So, and the other issue you noticed is he was able to damage me multiple times. That's just a quick modification with Qbert. So we can go into here, and it's this check right here. This check should actually probably be at the end of this loop or this logic. So we'll actually just, basically what's happening is he's setting to is dead and he's setting to hidden. And then it comes in this branch check, and then it sets it to false, which isn't actually true, and then it waits a couple seconds before actually moving the Qbert. So there's a window there where he can be hit again and basically get that game over state. So putting it at the end there will basically fix it so when we run into Coily, he can only kill us once before we actually respawn. Like so. Alright, and those are some quick fixes. Now the next thing we need to do is we need a way for Coily to die and spawn. And we're going to make use of the blueprint interface we created for Qbert, which is this death code. So we can come into here, hit the plus sign, and add a snake death function. And then compile and save that. Now inside the snake code, remember we need to go into class settings, and then we want to actually click out of there. Go into the implemented interfaces, hit add, search for our BPI_death, and then compile and save. Once you have that linked, then you can actually call the event functions that you set up in your interface. So I can come back to the snake, right click and do snake death, and there's the event call right there. So now we can set up some logic here. Now when we kill the snake, I want to be able to spawn the snake, so I think the best place to do that is probably going to be in the game mode, because that's kind of how we're driving most of this logic. So let's open up the game mode, we'll find an empty spot, and we'll do a custom event, spawn Coily the snake. And then I will come into a delay, and I'll probably wait maybe 2 seconds, and then just a simple spawn actor from class. You can choose BP_snake, and the transform, I'm just going to split this, and I'm going to hard code the transform for now. You could get creative and add a few different transform spots and do like a random range and just have it pick one at random so it's in different spots, but keep it simple for now. I'm gonna do 100, 100, 200. So kind of be like a little bit in the middle of the pyramid. Compile and save. So now that we have the code created, we can come into the snake, and we have a, actually we don't have a reference to our game mode. So we can add a reference off the begin play. We can do cast to BP game mode. Then do get game mode. And then we can right click, promote to variable, game mode reference. Compile and save. Now if we go back to our death code, we can get a reference to the game mode, and then we can do spawn Coily, and then I want to destroy this actor because we're dead, right? And that should be pretty good for the snake code. Now the other thing is we need to be able to trigger the state, and if you remember, we are actually doing that from the level blueprint. So if we open up the level blueprint, we have this overlap. It casts the Qbert. If it's a successful cast of Qbert, it'll run the death code, and then it'll call player death. If it's a failed cast of Qbert, we can instead do a cast to the snake, and then we'll hook up the other actor into here. And then we're going to do basically the same thing. So if it's a successful cast, we'll get all actors with interface. We'll choose the BPI death, come into a for each loop. Oops. And then instead of player death, we're going to call into snake death. Drag this down like so. Now we can try playing this as it is, and I think when he dies it should spawn another one, but we're going to want to delete him from the map and spawn him dynamically. But you can see the other issue here, and this is a bit of an odd one. Gravity doesn't take hold, so the character movement component isn't working on spawn. If we open up the snake, and this is true with any blueprint actor, we'll go to the viewport. If you select the parent self, you'll want to run a search for pawn, and there's an auto-possess player and an auto-possess AI, and this would actually factor in, I guess, to both, depending on what you're doing. In this case, we're doing an AI. It's defaulted to place in world. If you set that to place in world or spawn, or just spawned. I would do both though, because there could be a scenario where maybe you have that set up. Compile and save. It should fix that issue. So now if we go down and we wait for Coily to die, we should see Coily actually affected by gravity and that movement component, and then he picks up that random movement where it actually comes through, and then every 2 seconds when he dies, he'll spawn. But we need to control the actual spawning initially as well. So we can come here and delete him from the scene. And I think the best way to do it is probably from Qbert. On Qbert's begin play, we make a call to the game mode and we store it. So we can actually use this begin play and do spawn Coily the snake. You could do it a number of different ways, I guess, but I think that makes the most sense for this setup. And then that way, when we compile and save, I think after 2 seconds it should spawn him, and then he picks off and then starts going. Then he kills me, it should spawn me up here, and he jumped off the edge. And then everything else should work kind of like as normal or as expected. There is going to be another issue that you might run into, and that's there is a possibility that you could like jump into a platform with Coily, and he kind of kills you, but you still flip the tile, which is probably not desirable. So what you can do is actually come to the platform code, and I would actually do another Boolean check. So we make a cast to Qbert. You can run a check for is dead, and just come into a not Boolean, and then come into an and Boolean, and then hook this up like that. And then what that'll do is it'll make it so, like, when Coily spawns, I gotta find a good probably spot to do it from. If I jump on him, the player is technically falling, and he triggered that cube, but it won't flip it because I'm dead, so it's making that extra check. And then that way the player doesn't get the extra points because he was basically killed. And then you can trigger your game over state. But yeah. Alright everyone, I think we'll cut it here to keep it short, but in the next video we'll tackle creating the flying saucer that will control the Qbert spawn. But as always, thanks for watching, consider subscribing, and see you on the next one.